Hi, my name is Mrs. Dorothy Poma. I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation on the human digestive system and nutrition. This presentation was compiled on the 7th March 2025. I then proceed to the various slides I have here. First and foremost, I'll talk about the introductory part of the human digestive system and then its functions. But before then, there's a diagram of the digestive system, which begins with the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, the large intestine, the small intestine, and then lastly, the anus. I then proceed to the second part of the presentation. The next part of the presentation. Well, the next part, I'm going to talk about the structure of the alimentary canal, as we can see. And then on my extreme left is the diagram of the alimentary canal, which begins with the salivary glands, the mouth, the stomach, the esophagus, the stomach, the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, the large intestine, the small intestine, the appendix, rectum, and then lastly, the anus. I'm going to explain what the alimentary canal is. This is the long tube in the body through which food passes, digests, and then is being absorbed into the body system or the bloodstream. It runs from the mouth to the anus. This part was derived from Gelbert 2014. We proceed to the next slide. The next slides talk about the functions of the digestive system. When you see and smell food, the salivary glands begins to work. Its work is to release saliva in the mouth in order to soften food when we begin to chew. And then we're going to explain what the mouth is. Mouth is the initial breakdown of food as the first part of the digestive system. We proceed to the pharynx, esophagus. But before we go to explain what the pharynx and then the esophagus is, I want to make an illustration with the pharynx, the esophagus, and there's something in our throat called the epiglottis. I'm going to use my two fingers, as you all can see. I'll take this one to be the esophagus. And then the next one attached to it is the pharynx, which is also known as the windpipe. The esophagus is the passage for food and then the water. And then the pharynx is the passage for air. But whenever we are about to, after chewing and then we're about to swallow in our throat, the epiglottis covers the passageway of the windpipe, so that the food and water does not go through it, because its main purpose is for air. So if it doesn't cover the passageway or the entrance of the pharynx, the food and the water may go into it and it may cause problem. So whenever we swallowing, the epiglottis cover the passageway or the entrance of the windpipe. Now we proceed to the details about the pharynx and then the esophagus. They transport food to the stomach as they serve as a common passage away for air and then water. Now we're going to explain what the stomach is, where it's been located. The stomach is a muscular bag located at the upper left quadrant of the abdominal cavity, and its function is to digest food through acids and enzymes. It has four parts, namely the cardiac, the pyloric, the body, and then the fundus. We're going to explain into details the parts or the what these parts means. The cardiac part is close to the heart and is the opening of the esophagus to the stomach, which is being regulated by the gastroesophageal sphincter. Fundus is a dome-shaped and usually filled with water. The body is the main part of the stomach. And then we move to the next one, being the pylori, which is the opening part of the small intestine, and the duodenum, which is being regulated by the pyloric sphincter. Now we move to the small intestine. It is the longest part of the alimentary canal, which has 3 parts, which is the duodenum, the ileum, and then the jejunum. Its function is mainly for absorption. We're going to explain what this part means. Anyway, we begin with the duodenum. The duodenum is a C shape with pancreatic duct, or pancreatic bowel, and hepatic. I take it again. The duodenum is a C shape with pancreatic bowel and hepatic secretions, which is added to food by the hepatopancreatic duct. We move to the next one, being the jejunum. The jejunum is the middle part of the small intestine. Lastly, we have the ileum. The ileum is highly coiled and its openings to the large intestine. I'm going to explain what the large intestine means. The large intestine is for absorption of water and the formation of waste product, which has 3 parts: the cecum, the colon, and then the rectum. We're going to explain these parts of the large intestine. The cecum is the small sac-like structure with symbiotic microorganisms, which is being attached to vermiform appendix into vestigial organ. Secondly, we have the colon. The colon is being divided into 4 parts, which is the ascending, the transverse, the sigmoid, and then the descending. Lastly, we're going to talk about the rectum. The rectum opens the anus. This section was derived from Bain and Levy 2024. We proceed to the next slide. At the next slide, we're going to talk about the histological features of the digestive system. And then this is the introduction, this is the explanation of the histological system. Histology is also known as the microscopic anatomy, and is the study of microscopic anatomy of biological tissue. It involves the process of slicing a small segment of the organism and then reviewing the slide under a microscope. We then proceed to what the stomach is. The stomach uses gastric acid to break down food entering the body. It combines with hydrochloric acid, which purpose is to disinfect harmful organisms or harmful microorganisms from multiplying or replicating in the body. Its function is to secrete enzymes in order to digest protein and fat. And then it has 4 layers. It has the muscular, the submucosa, the muscularis, and then the serosa. I'm going to explain what these parts means. The mucosa is the main inner lining of the stomach. It digests food within the stomach when the gastric glands secrete the gastric fluid as the mucosa contracts. Now we talk about the submucosa. It's the thickest and the connective tissue that joins the mucosa to the muscle underneath. Thirdly, we have the muscularis externa, which has 3 layers. It has the inner oblique, the middle circular, and then the outer longitudinal. And then it assists the functioning or the processes of churning used in food digestion. Lastly, we talk about the serosa. The serosa is the outer layer which composed of connective tissues. This section was derived from Gelberg 2014. We then proceed to the duodenum. The duodenum is the first part of the small intestine, and it's about 25 centimeters long, which comprises of 4 layers. It has the mucosa, the submucosa, the muscularis, and then the serosum. The mucosa is the finger-like projection into the villi and microvilli, which increase the surface area for nutrient absorption. Secondly, we have the submucosa, which comprises of the Brunner's glands, which secretes alkaline mucus to neutralize stomach acid. The muscularis contains smooth muscle for peristalsis. The outer longitudinal muscle fibers and provide movement of mucosa. The serosa is the outer layer which composes of the connective tissue. Now we talk about the ileum. The ileum is the final part of the small intestine, which is similar to the duodenum, but has a fewer Brunner's glands and more Peyer's patches with lymphoid nodules, and then is part of the immune functioning. Now we talk about the liver. The liver is the second largest organ in the body with the functions of cleaning blood by removing harmful substance and producing glucose for the body through the process of glucogenesis, and then support digestion. Now we're going to highlight, I'm just going to mention the functions of the immune system, in which at the next part, I'm going to explain into details the function of the immune system. So these are the function: bile production, emulsification of fat, metabolites of proteins and fat, and then carbohydrate, detoxification of harmful substances in the blood, and it also stores glycogen and fat-soluble vitamins. So I'm going to explain into details the function or the roles of the liver. It includes bile production, which emulsify fats by breaking down into small particles for easy enzymes digestion. Through carbohydrate metabolism, the liver maintains and stores excess glucose and releases it when recalled as glycogen. Regarding protein metabolism, the liver deaminates amino acid and synthesizes plasma proteins as urea is formed from ammonia. Finally, the liver detoxifies a number of metabolites and drugs, and it also stores minerals and vitamins as well as iron and vitamin B12. So we then proceed to the next slide. With the next slide, we're going to talk about the essential nutrients for a well-balanced diet. So we're going to discuss about the kinds of food nutrients, or the nutrient we get in food, and then the examples of each nutrient. So we're going to start with carbohydrate. We can get carbohydrate from bread, pasta, rice, and the function of a carbohydrate is produce energy for the body to work or effectively or perform its duties. We proceed to the next one, being the proteins. The protein example are meat, fish, eggs, and its function is to support growth, repair, and enzyme production. Thirdly, you have fat. Examples are avocados, nuts, and olive, which are necessary for energy reserve and then cell functioning. Fourthly, we have vitamins. Examples are fish, dark leafy greens, seeds, broccoli, pork, beef, lamb, and it's mainly or purposely for biochemical processes. We have the next one being the minerals. Minerals can be derived from dairy, fruits, and vegetables, and then its function is crucial for strong bones, oxygen transportation, and the nerve function. We move to the last but not the least, which is the fiber. Fiber can be gained or derived or can be get from fruits, vegetables, and whole grain. Its function is to promote digestive health and then regulate bowel movement. Lastly, we talk about water. Water can be get from fruits, vegetables, and its function is for hydration and support metabolism, into bracket, temperature regulation. This section was being derived from Caesar and Whitney 2021. We then continue with the next slide. The next slide talks about consequences of nutritional imbalances. For instance, if I have a child which is growing, each child has to, the way the child grows has to go in contact, or has to go well, because we believe there is a growth limestone from each child. So if I have a child and then I'm feeding the child with the right food nutrient, the child has to grow healthy. He has to get a strong immune system. But if the child is not getting the proper nutrient, there are some situations or some diseases in which he or she may suffer from. So I'm going to talk about those kind of diseases. Now I will start it with undernutrition and overnutrition as the consequences of nutritional imbalances, and this undernutrition and overnutrition poses a lot of health threat. Examples are, it has some deficiencies, and then below are the deficiencies of undernutrition or overnutrition. We have scurvy, and then scurvy is being caused by deficiency in vitamin C. Its symptoms include swollen, bleeding gums, fatigue, joint pain, and then anemia. Secondly, I talk about rickets. Rickets is being caused by vitamin D deficiency, calcium, or phosphate. Its symptoms include weak bones, dental problems, and the muscle weakness. Thirdly, last but not the least, I'll talk about anemia. Anemia is being caused by iron deficiency. Its symptoms include fatigue and weakness, pale skin, chest pain, frequent infection, and then increased heart rate. Lastly, I'll talk about pellagra. Pellagra is being caused by deficiency of niacin, into bracket vitamin B3. Its symptoms include diarrhea, dermatitis, and then dementia. This section was derived from Caesar and Whitney 2022. Now I proceed to the next slide. The next slide talks about the modern dietary recommendations, and then I'm going to explain this section. I will start with food and drinks with high features of dairy content are great products for consuming calcium, which enhances healthy bones and provide the body with protein and vitamins. This section was derived from Harrison 2019. Next one, proteins, potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, and other starchy carbohydrates are recommended to form a third of a daily diet. Choose a whole grain starchy foods like brown rice, pasta, and bread, as they contain a wide variety of nutrients that provide energy to the body. Thirdly, increasing dietary fiber for better digestion by eating fruits and vegetables or other foods with plant origin. This process removes waste products from the body and reduces cholesterol. Last but not the least, ensure adequate hydration throughout the day. Water is an essential component of the healthy diet and must be consumed daily. Consume liquids such as sugar-free juices, tea, and coffee, which always limit the daily content to coffee and tea. Always limit the daily content of 150 ml, as high levels of sugar can damage the teeth. Lastly, the following health recommendations from World Health Organization and National Health Services: at least half a person's energy intake should come from carbohydrate, into bracket 45 to 65%, and then 400 milligrams of fruit and vegetables should be consumed daily. Fat should not exceed 30%, and 5 grams of salt daily. This section was derived from Heyman 2020. I proceed to the next slide. In the next slide, we're going to talk about some of the misconceptions in nutrition, and each misconception, and under the misconception, we're going to talk about myth, and each myth has its facts. So I'm going to begin with the first myth. Carbohydrates are unhealthy, especially bread, pasta, and rice, which are fattening. Avoid them when trying to lose weight. And then the facts are: whole grains are vital for energy, especially brown rice and whole grain and whole wheat bread, cereal, and pasta. They provide iron, fiber, and other important nutrients. And then the next myth is All fats contribute to weight gain. Avoid them when trying to be healthy or lose weight. And then if fact is healthy fat into brackets. Examples include nuts and fish are beneficial and provide essential nutrients and should be an important part of a healthy eating plan. If you're trying to lose weight, consider eating a small amount of food with healthy fats such as avocados, olives, and fruits. We move to the last myth. Dairy products are fattening and unhealthy. It's factors. Dairy products such as milk and some yogurt have added vitamin D to help your body to use calcium. This is also an important food group because they have protein your body needs to build muscle and organs. In order to work well, important food group because they have protein your body needs to build muscle and organs in order to work well. And as calcium to strengthen bones. Those made from fat-free or low-fat milk possess fewer calories than the dairy products from the whole milk. This section was derived from Spectre 2015. Now we proceed to the next slide. The next slide talks about the concluding part of this PowerPoint presentation, and it includes the following. The digestive system efficiently processes food for energy and nutrients. Awareness of nutrition misinformation helps make better dietary choices. A well-balanced diet is essential for healthy long-term health. This is the end of my presentation. The next slide talks about the references in this PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much for your time.